You are not broke because you are lazy. You are not broke because God forgot you. You are not broke because you lack faith. Scripture gives a different answer, a specific one, and it appears in a book most Christians have never opened, written to a people who worked hard, gave faithfully, and still came up empty every single month. They asked the same question you are asking. God's answer was not a miracle. It was not a new income stream. It was two words that most pastors will never preach on a Sunday morning because they are too uncomfortable to say out loud. You have heard the prosperity gospel version. Give more and God will give back. Sow the seed. Release the blessing. Name it and claim it. And maybe you tried it. Gave faithfully. Tithed consistently. Believed as hard as you knew how. And the account still runs low by the 20th of every month. The unexpected bill still lands at the worst possible moment. The raise comes and disappears within weeks without explanation. So quietly, in the moments you do not say out loud, you start to wonder, is this a spiritual problem? Is God withholding? Is there a curse? Am I doing something wrong that I cannot see? Here's what Scripture says. There may be something you cannot see, but it is not a curse, and God is not withholding. The book of Haggai records an entire nation in your exact situation. Working people, faithful people, people who planted and harvested and built and earned, and came up empty, month after month, year after year. Haggai 1:6. You have planted much, but harvested little. You eat, but never have enough. You drink, but never have your fill. You put on clothes, but are not warm. You earn wages, only to put them in a purse with holes in it. A purse with holes in it. That is not a metaphor for bad luck. That is a diagnosis. And God does not respond to this nation with a miracle. He does not send rain. He does not multiply their harvest. He tells them to do something far more uncomfortable. And there is one Hebrew word behind his instruction that changes everything about how you read this passage. Haggai 1:5. Now this is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. Read that again. Not give more. Not pray harder. Not fast longer. Give careful thought to your ways. Verse 7, God repeats it, word for word. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. When God says the same thing twice in 3 verses, he is not filling space. He is insisting. The Hebrew word behind give careful thought is shub. It does not mean to think carefully in the abstract. Shub means to turn, to return, to physically reorient yourself toward what you have been walking away from. God's first instruction to a broke, frustrated, hardworking nation was not to do more. It was to turn around and look at what they had been avoiding. Now go to Luke 16. Jesus is speaking. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? Luke 16:10-11. Notice the last question. Who will trust you with true riches? Jesus is not asking this rhetorically. He is describing a system. Faithfulness with small money is the prerequisite for large money, not the warm-up, the qualification. And the disqualifier is not wickedness. It is not rebellion. It is inattention, dishonesty with very little, a purse with holes that nobody examined closely enough to find. The people in Haggai are not villains. That is the first thing to understand. They are not rebels. They are not idol worshippers at this point in the story. They are returned exiles. People who survived Babylon came home to a ruined land and started rebuilding their lives from nothing. They worked hard, consistently. They planted crops. They built houses. They earned wages, and it was never enough. The problem God identifies is not their effort. It is their priority. The temple, the house of God, was still in ruins. And these people, busy with the legitimate demands of rebuilding their own lives, had quietly moved God's house to the bottom of the list. Not out of rebellion, out of distraction. Haggai 1:4. Is it a time for you yourselves to be living in your paneled houses while this house remains a ruin? Paneled houses, not palaces. Comfortable homes, reasonable lives. But the order was wrong. And because the order was wrong, the blessing had a hole in it. Everything they earned leaked out before they could hold it. Here is what makes this story different from every other broke nation story in Scripture. God does not condemn them. He diagnoses them. And the moment they respond, the moment they turn and address what they had been neglecting, Haggai 2:19 records God's response. From this day on, I will bless you. Not eventually. Not after a season of proving themselves. From this day. The blessing was not withheld because God was angry. It was structurally blocked because the foundation was out of order. But here is the part that most people miss when they read Haggai. God's diagnosis was not only spiritual. When he says the order is wrong, he means the whole order. The priorities, the attention, the examination of where the money was actually going. The people were busy, but busy is not the same as ordered. They had activity without architecture. And a purse with holes does not care how hard you work to fill it. Psychologists who study financial behavior have documented a consistent pattern. People under financial stress actively avoid looking at their bank balances. They do not open the bills. They do not check the statements. The anxiety of not knowing feels more manageable than the anxiety of knowing, so they work harder, earn more, and the leak continues because the hole they are not looking at keeps draining whatever goes in. Modern psychology calls this financial avoidance. Scripture called it a purse with holes 3,000 years earlier. The Shub instruction, turn around and look, is God addressing the avoidance directly, not with condemnation, with a command that is also an act of mercy. You cannot fix what you will not face. This is what made Haggai's instruction so radical in its cultural context. In the ancient Near East, financial hardship was almost universally interpreted as divine punishment or demonic curse. The prescribed response was sacrifice, ritual, appeasement. God does not tell Haggai's people to sacrifice more. He tells them to examine their ways, to audit their priorities, to look at where the money was going and ask honestly why it was not staying. The miracle was not the answer. The examination was the beginning of the answer. 1. Hard work without examined order produces a purse with holes. The people in Haggai were not lazy. They were busy. But business is not the same as order, and effort is not the same as faithfulness. You can work hard for 20 years and still come up empty if the structure underneath the work is disordered. The question is not how hard you are working. The question is whether what you are building on is in the right order. Effort fills the purse. Order keeps it. 2. Financial avoidance accelerates the problem it is trying to avoid. The bill you are not opening is still arriving. The balance you are not checking is still moving. The statement you have not looked at in 3 months has not stopped recording. Avoidance does not pause the leak. It just means you find the hole later, when it is larger. Shub, turn and look, is not a comfortable instruction. It was not meant to be. It is the instruction God gave a nation that had been looking away for years. Turn around. Look at the numbers. All of them. 3. God qualifies before He multiplies. Luke 16 is a sequence, not a promise. Faithfulness with little is the prerequisite for much. Not because God is withholding, but because multiplication applied to disorder produces larger disorder. $1,000 managed carelessly becomes $10,000 managed carelessly. The income level changes. The whole remains. God is not refusing to bless you. He may be waiting for the structure that makes the blessing something other than a faster drain. 4. The order matters more than the amount. Haggai's people were not told to earn more. They were told to reorder what they had. The blessing did not come after more income arrived. It came the day they turned and corrected the priority. For most people reading this, the financial breakthrough they are asking God for is not primarily an income problem. It is an order problem. The money coming in is not the issue. Where it goes the moment it arrives, and whether anyone is paying close enough attention to know, that is the issue. Fix the order. The blessing has somewhere to land. God asked Haggai's people to do one thing before anything else changed. Turn around and look. Not give more. Not pray longer. Not wait for a miracle. Look at your ways. Honestly. With the lights on, when did you last examine? Actually examine where your money goes? Not a rough idea. Not a feeling. The actual numbers. The subscriptions you forgot. The categories that are quietly consuming more than you think. The pattern that repeats every month that you have been too busy or too anxious to sit with. That examination is not a financial exercise. Scripture frames it as an act of faithfulness. The hole in the purse does not close itself, and God's instruction to every generation that has found itself working hard and coming up empty has been the same. Turn around. Look at what you have been walking away from. Address what is actually broken before asking for more to pour into it. You are not cursed. You are not forgotten. You are not beyond this. You have not looked closely enough yet. From this day on, I will bless you.